It's the Edexcel GCSE Maths Higher Tier Non-Calculator paper from May 2023. Let's get straight into it. Question 1. Work out 8.46 divided by 0.15. I'm first going to write it as a fraction just so I can see it a little bit more clearly. I never want to divide by a decimal. I always want to divide by a whole number. So how could I get this into a whole number? I need to multiply it by 100 because if I move it 2 places to the right, it'll appear there after the 5. So I'm multiplying both the top and the bottom by 100 so that it becomes 846 divided by 15. I don't know my 15 times table, so I'm just going to write it on the right hand side. So 15, 30, 45, 60, 75, 90, 105 and 120. I think that should be enough. I'll set it out with short division. So I'm doing 846 divided by 15. 15s don't go into 8, but they go into 84. So I'm going to use my times tables to help me with that. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That'd be too much, so it's going to be 5 with 9 remaining. Put 5 here with 9 remaining. I need how many 15s go into 96? So I count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and that would be 6 with a remainder of 6. Because I've got a remainder, I'm going to put an extra 0 after a decimal point and put my 6 there. This one's nice because 15 goes into 60 exactly 4 times, so my final answer would be 56.4. Question 2. Work out 7 3/8 minus 2 1/2. Give your answer as a mixed number. I already know that 1/2 is greater than 3/8, so I don't want to take 1/2 from 3/8. I'm going to carry one of these wholes from the 7 into the 3/8 so that it makes it a little bit easier. So what would one whole be in 8s? It would be 8 over 8. So I'm going to add 8 over 8 to this 3/8 and I'm going to drop this one down by 1. So it becomes 6. If I add 8 over 8 to this, it becomes 11 over 8 minus 2 1/2. And this way, I just need to take away my units from each other and I need to take my fractions away from each other. Rather than having to convert them all to improper fractions and then take them away and then convert them back. This would be an easier method for this one. So 6 take away 2 is 4 and I need to do 11 eighths take away a half. So 11 eighths take away 1/2. My lowest common multiple of the 2 and the 8 is going to be 8. So I've multiplied this one by 4. So this would become 1 times 4, which is 4, and this would stay the same. And 11 take away 4 is 7, so that's 7/8. So my final answer is 4 and 7/8, and it's already as a mixed number, which it asks for. Question 3. A cube has a total surface area of 150 centimeters squared. Work out the volume of the cube. So I'm just going to draw a cube out here. And this is saying that if I have all of the areas of all of the faces, it's going to be 150 centimeters squared. How could I find out what one of the faces are? There's 6 faces altogether, so I need to divide it by 6 first. I'm doing 150 divided by 6. I can divide them both by 2, so that becomes 75 over 3. And I can divide both of these by 3, so that would become 25. So each of the faces are 25 centimeters squared. We want to work out the volume, so to work out volume we're going to need the side lengths. So I've got one of the faces, which is 25 centimeters squared. What would the side length of each of these be? I just need to find the square root of 25 because to find the area, I multiply the base by the height. So the square root of 25, what number multiplies by itself to give you 25? It would be 5. I now know that each of the side lengths is 5 centimeters, and if I'm working out volume, all I need to do is multiply the length by the width by the height, but because here all of them are 5, I'm just doing 5 cubed. So 5 multiplied by 5 multiplied by 5. I already know 5 squared is 25, and 25 times 5 would be 125. So the units would be centimeters cubed because it's volume. Question 4. The table shows information about daily rainfall in a town for 60 days. Draw a frequency polygon for this information. Whenever we're drawing frequency polygons, we always need the midpoints. So I'm not going to plot at 0, 5. I need to plot at 2.5 and 8. For this one, between 5 and 10, it would be 7.5. If you're not too sure what the midpoint is, you can do 10 add 15 and divide it by 2. So 25 divided by 2 is 12.5. So that's just if it's a little bit trickier. You're just finding the mean of those two numbers. That'd be 17.5, that'd be 22.5. Let's plot all of these. We've got 2.5 and 8. I've got 0 and 5, and halfway between them would be 2.5, so it would be here. And 8 would be here, because you can see it's going up in ones. So that's the first one done. 7.5 and 24. 7.5 and 24 is here. 12.5 and 13, so I would go up to 10, 11, 12, and 13's there. 17.5 and 11, so 17.5 and 11's there. And 22.5 and 4. 22.5 and 4. Last thing that you need to do is just connect up all of these points. You don't connect it from the start or at the end, you just connect up the ones that you've plotted. That's the first one. That's that second one. That's the third one. And that's the last one. So it should finish off like this. Question 5. We've got a set of numbers 1 to 10, and in A it's going to be our odd numbers. I'll just write that there to remember. And for B it's going to be my square numbers. And in the middle, because it's a Venn diagram, it's going to be the numbers that are both odd and square. And the ones on the outside will be our even numbers that are square. We need to complete the Venn diagram for this. For the first one, we've got 1, it's an odd number and it's a square number, so I'm going to put that there. I'll just cross it off because I've done it. 2 is an even number, so it doesn't go in here, and it's not a square number, so I put it on the outside. 3 is an odd number and it's not a square, so I put it here. 4 is an even and it's a square number, so I just put it in here. 5 is an odd number, it's not square, so there. 6 is even, it's not odd, it's not square, so put it outside. 7 is odd and it's only odd. 8 is even and it's not a square, so I'll put it on the outside. 9 is odd and it's a square number because 3 squared is 9. That's that one. And 10 is an even number, it's not a square. So that's my finished Venn diagram. A number is chosen at random from this universal set. Find the probability that this number is in the set not B or B prime. So we're trying to find the probability that it's not in here. So how many numbers are not in B? We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and altogether there's 10 numbers. So it's going to be 7 out of 10. Question 6. The scatter graph shows information about the ages and weights of some babies. Describe the relationship between the ages and the weights of the babies. As you can see, as the age is increasing, the weights are also increasing. As one is going up, the other one is going up. So we can just say, as age increases, weights increase. Another baby has a weight of 5.8 kilos. Using the scatter graph, find an estimate for the age of this baby. First thing that we're going to have to do is draw a line of best fit. So we're going to draw a line from here through the middle of all of the points. So it should look something like this. I think that would be appropriate. We're going to use this for our question. So we're looking for 5.8 kilos. So I'm going to go up to 5, which is about here. And there's 5 gaps between 5 and 6. So each gap will be worth 0.2. And I need to draw a line going from there, touching that line. And then I'm going to draw a line going straight down. And I can see that it's between 3 and 4. And each of these gaps is again worth 0.2. So 4 take away 0.2 would be 3.8. So the age would be 3.8 months. Question 7. The price of a holiday increases by 20%. This 20% increase adds £240 to the price of the holiday. Work out the price of the holiday before the increase. The first thing that we need to understand here is what fact have they given me. They've told me that the price is increasing by 20%. And that 20% is equal to £240. I need to find the original price of the holiday, so I need to find 100%, the original price. On the left-hand side, I've multiplied by 5 to get from 20 to 100. On the right-hand side, I need to do the same thing. So a quick way to multiply by 5, I can times it by 10, and then I can divide it by 2. 240 times 10 is 2,400. Divide it by 2 would be 1,200. One way you could check this is if you find 20% of that, you should get 240. Question 8. The diagram shows a solid cylinder and a horizontal floor, and it's told us the formula for pressure. The cylinder has a volume of 1,200 centimeter cubed and a height of 40 centimeters. So we'll just write the volume is 1,200. The cylinder exerts a force of 90 newtons on the floor. So we know the force is equal to 90. Work out the pressure on the floor due to the cylinder. We've got the force, we're trying to find the pressure, but we don't have the area, but we can work that out using these two pieces of information, the volume and the height. So how do you normally work out the volume of a cylinder or the volume of a prism? We would take the area of one of the faces and then we would multiply it by the height, the depth. So here it tells us the volume is 1,200 and that's equal to this height, 40, multiplied by this area over here. Just need to solve this. X is being multiplied by 40, so I'm going to divide by 40 on both sides. 1,200 divided by 40, I'm going to cancel out one of the zeros, and 120 divided by 4 would be 30. So my area is 30. Now that I've got my force and the area, let's work out the pressure. So pressure is equal to force over the area. So that's equal to 90 over 30. And 90 divided by 30, cancel out the zeros, 9 divided by 3 would be 3. So the pressure is 3 newtons per centimeter squared. Question 9. Uses graphs to solve the simultaneous equations 2 minus 2y equals x, and they've already plotted that on, and 2y equals 3x minus 22, and they've already plotted that on. This one's quite simple. All we need to do here is look for the point of intersection. Just be careful when we're labeling this, what coordinate is it? Between 5 and 10 on the x coordinate, each one is going up in ones, so that would be 6 for my x coordinate. Same, it's going down by ones, so I need to count 1, 2, so it's going to be 6 and negative 2. And if you substituted both of these into either of these equations, you'd solve it. So the answer is 6 and negative 2. Question 10. Here is a pentagon. Angle AED equals 4 lots of angle ABC. So this is saying that A to E to D is 4 times this angle. So I'm going to label this angle as x, and because this is 4 times it, I'm going to label it as 4x. Work out the size of angle AED. So we're trying to find this angle here, the 4x. So first I need to find out what all of the angles are. I need to find out what x is. So how could we find out interior angles? We're going to need to use our formula for total interior angles, which is 180 multiplied by n minus 2, where n is the number of sides. It's told us it's a pentagon, so it's got 5 sides. So we're going to do 180 multiplied by 5 minus 2, 180 multiplied by 3, 18 times by 3, so 18, 36, 54, so it's going to be 540. The total angles in all of these will be 540. So I just need to find out what these two are. I'm going to create an equation using this piece of information and all of these. Let's just add up all of these first. So we've got 120 plus 135 plus 110. So that's 5, that's 6, and that's 3. So far I've got 365. And then I've got this 4x add x, and that's going to be equal to the total angles, which is 540 degrees. Can simplify this bit, collecting these like terms. So I've got 365 plus 5x is equal to 540. X is being multiplied by 5, and then we're adding 365, so I'm going to take away 365 from both sides. So 5x is equal to, that'd be 140 plus 35, so it's going to be 175. Need to divide by 5 now on both sides. Quick way to divide by 5, you can divide it by 10 and then you can times it by 2. So divided by 10 would be 17.5, times by 2 would be 35. So x is equal to 35. But we don't want x, we want 4 lots of x. So we just need to multiply this by 4. 35 doubled is 70, double it again would be 140 degrees. You could substitute 35 into here as well and just check all of these add up to 540 if you wanted to. Question 11, write 6x to the power of 5 and y to the power of 3 in brackets to the power of 2 over 3x squared y to the 7 times by 4x y to the power of negative 3. So we've got quite a few things going on. I'm going to first concentrate on my numerator, and I can see that this bit in the bracket is being squared. So all of this is being multiplied by itself. So I've got 6 squared, which is 36. Then I've got x to the 5 to the power of 2. And whenever I have a power to a power, I multiply them together. So 5 times 2 would be 10, x to the 10. Same thing with this y to the 3 to the 2. 3 times by 2 would be 6. So that's my numerator done. Let's simplify the denominator as well. So we've got 3 times by 4. You just multiply the coefficients together. 3 times by 4 is 12. I'm going to multiply my x's together. And if you're multiplying and you have the same base, you add them together. This is a 2 plus an invisible 1. So 2 add 1 would be 3. So x to the 3. Y to the 7 times by y to the negative 3. 7 add negative 3. I've got mixed signs in the middle, so it's going to become a minus. 7 take away 3 is 4. So that's y to the 4. Now I need to clean this up further. I've got 36 divided by 12, which is 3. Now I have x to the 10 divided by x to the 3. Whenever I have the same base, these are the bases, and I'm dividing, I subtract the powers. So I'm doing 10 take away 3, which is 7. So x to the 7. Then same with this one, y to the 6 divided by y to the 4. 6 take away 4 is 2, so y to the 2. Just having a look at that, I can't simplify it any further, so that would be my final answer. And it does look like that. Question 12. Martha plays a game twice. The probability tree diagram shows the probabilities that Martha will win or lose each game. Find the probability that Martha will lose at least one game. So what does losing at least one game look like? You could have win and lose. You could have lose and win. And you could have lose and lose, and that would be at least one game. But a quicker way to do this, instead of finding all of these probabilities, you could just find win, and you do 1 minus that probability. So let's do that way, because it's a lot easier. Win is that one, and win is that one. And if I'm finding the probabilities of two things happening, I just multiply them together. So I'm going to do 5/8 multiplied by 2/9. 5 times 2 is 10, and 8 times 9 is 72. Can simplify that to become 5/36. And I need to do 1 minus that, 1 minus this probability of happening. 1 minus 5/36. I can think of this whole as 36/36. That's the same as 1 whole, minus 5/36. 36 take away 5 is 31, and that's over 36. Question 13, y is directly proportional to x. Let's just write that as a statement. So y is equal to a number, we're going to use k because it's never changing, it's a constant, multiplied by x. Y equals 24 when x equals 5. So let's substitute both of these in so that we can find the value of this k and we can have an equation for it. So y is 24, so I've swapped that y with a 24, is equal to, we don't know what k is, we do know what x is, so I'm going to put 1.5 k. Just need to solve this. K is being multiplied by 1.5, so I need to divide it by 1.5. 24 over 1.5 is equal to k. Let's just solve this here. So 24 over 1.5, I can't divide by a decimal, so I'm going to times it by 10 on the bottom and on the top to get rid of that decimal. So it's going to become 240 divided by 15. What's a common factor of both of these? That ends in a 0, that ends in a 5, so I can divide by 5 on the top and the bottom. Dividing by 5, quick way of doing it, you divide by 10 and then times it by 2. 240 divided by 10 is 24, times by 2 is 48, so I've got 48, and 15 divided by 5 is 3. Let's just do 48 divided by 3. 3's into 4 is 1. Carry the 1 over. 3's into 18 is 6. So I know what my k value is. K is equal to 16. And I'm going to put that into this equation here. So I've got my final equation. So y is equal to 16x, because I know what k is. Work out the value of y when x equals 5. All I need to do is multiply by 5 here. So y is equal to 16 times by 5. 16 times by 5 is 80. Question 14. Write 1 over 16 in the form 4 to the power of something where n is an integer. Integer just means a whole number, so it could be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This 1 over 16, I need it with a base of 4. So what is 16 with a base of 4? If I just think of my square numbers, 16 is the same as 4 squared. I've got this 4 squared on the bottom, but I need to move it to the top. I can see this is a reciprocal. It's been flipped from 4 squared to 1 over 4 squared. So this would be 4 to the power of negative 2, and that would flip it over. Part B. Work out the value of 8 to the power of 5 over 3 minus 9 to the power of 3 over 2. So first thing I need to consider, because I'm looking at fractional indices, this bottom number, this denominator, is telling me the root, and this top number is telling me the power that I need to raise it to. And normally I like to do this one first because it'll make the number smaller, and this one second. So we'll do these separately and then we'll combine them at the end. So we're finding the third root of 8, so the cube root of 8, and then we're raising it to the power of 5. So the cube root of 8, you should know this, it's 2, because 2 times 2 times 2 would give you 8. I need to do 2 to the power of 5. So I'm just going to write out my powers of 5. So 2 to the power of 1 is 2, 2 to the power of 2 is 4, and just keep doubling it, 8, 16, and 32. So 2 to the power of 5 is 32. That's that one done. Same thing with this one, I need to find the second root, so I'm finding the square root of 9, and then I need to raise it to the power of 3. Square root of 9 is 3, and 3 cubed, 3 times 3 times 3 is 27. Final step, just need to take them away from each other. So 32 take away 27, which is equal to 5. Question 15. The equation of line 1 is y equals 2x minus 5. So I've got an equation of a line here, and the general form for equation of a line is y equals mx plus c. There's two parts that you need to remember. This m value is the gradient, or the steepness, the slope of the line, and the c value is the y-intercept. It's where it crosses the y-axis. The equation of line 2 is 6y plus kx minus 12 is equal to 0. This is in the form y equals mx plus c, so it's not very useful to us. We can't use it easily. So let's rearrange it so that we're making this y the subject. So I'm going to move these two things over to the other side. So I'm going to have to take away kx and add 12. So now I've got 6y is equal to 12 minus kx. To get y on its own, I just need to divide everything by 6. So dividing this by 6 would leave me with y. 12 divided by 6 is 2, and I'll write it as kx over 6. My gradient is negative k over 6 because that's what this x is being multiplied by. It says line 1 is perpendicular to line 2. So this is saying that they're both crossing at right angles. So there's right angles going on there. And it's also saying the inverse reciprocal of this gradient will be this gradient. Find the value of k. I know the gradient of line 1 is 2 because it's the number before this x. And I know the gradient of line 2 is going to be the inverse reciprocal of that. Inverse just means if it's positive, it's going to be a negative. And because I want the reciprocal, I'm going to flip this. So right now, it's 2 over 1, but it's going to become 1 over 2. So the gradient of line 2 is negative a half. And I know that the gradient is also negative k over 6. So this negative k over 6 is equal to negative a half. There's a few ways you can solve this. So first, I can see that they're both negative, so I can cancel out the negatives. Then I've got k over 6 is equal to half, so I could multiply by 6. Or you could also spot that on the bottom, we're multiplying by 3 there. So on the top, we're also multiplying by 3. So this k is going to be equal to 3. If you did 6 times a half, it would also give you 3. So both ways would be fine. Question 16. Here is a sphere. 3/8 of the surface area of this sphere is 75 pi centimeter squared. And it's given as the formula for area of a sphere. Let's just write that as an equation. So we've got 3/8 of this formula times by 4 pi r squared. We don't know what r is equal to 75 pi. Find the diameter of the sphere. So just remember, we're finding the diameter. When we solve this, we're going to find the radius. Give your answer in the form a root b, where a is an integer and b is a prime number. I'm going to solve it to find this radius. So I'm trying to get this r on its own. So right now, I've got this 3/8 times this 4. So I'll just clean this up so it makes it easier to move it across. 3/8 multiplied by 4. You can think of it as 4 over 1. I could cross cancel here. That divides by 4 and that divides by 4. So that would become 1 and a 2. 3 times by 1 is 3 and 2 times by 1 is 2. So on the left hand side, this would simplify to 3 over 2 pi r squared is equal to 75 pi. So all I need to do now, r is being squared and then it's being multiplied by this 3 over 2 pi. So I'm going to divide both sides by 3 over 2 pi. So r squared is equal to 75 pi over 3 over 2 pi. So these pi's are going to cancel each other out. Then I've got 75 divided by 3 over 2 pi. If you divide in fractions, you're going to keep the first one as it is. So it's 75. You're going to flip the second one. So it becomes 2 over 3, and you're going to multiply them instead. I can see these cross cancel as well. Both of these divide by 3. That would become 25, and that would become 1. So 25 times by 2 is 50. On the right hand side, I've just done this 75 divided by 3 over 2. So r squared is equal to 50. To get r on its own, I just need to square root both sides. So r is equal to the square root of 50. I'll simplify this before I times it by 2, because remember, I need to find my diameter. So what's the largest square number that goes into 50? If I write out my square numbers, I've got 1, 4, 9, 16, and 25. So the largest square number would be 25. So I can rewrite it as r is equal to root 25 times by root 2. And this root 25 simplifies to 5. Square root of 25 is 5, so 5 root 2. Just remember, I need to double it. So the diameter is 2 times by 5 root 2. And imagine if you had 2 times by 5x, that would be 10x. So here it's going to be 10 root 2. That's my final answer. Question 17. Make x the subject of the formula y is equal to 4 brackets 2x minus 7 over 5x plus 3. The first thing that I can see here is I've got x's on my numerator and my denominator. So I need to try and get them all on the same line first before I try to make it the subject. I'm trying to get one of these x's on its own and the rest of it on the other side. So first, let's get rid of this denominator. I'm going to multiply both sides by 5x plus 3. So I'm doing y multiplied by all of this. That would be 5xy plus 3y is equal to, let's expand this bracket out, 4 times by 2x is 8x, 4 times by negative 7 is negative 28. Now I'm trying to get all my x's on one side so I can factorize it and then I can pull it out. So I'm going to move this 8x over to the other side and I'm going to move this 3y to the right hand side. So I'm doing two things at the same time. I'm going to move this there and I'm going to move this there. So it's going to be 5xy minus 8x is equal to, I'll just write it as minus 28. And because I'm moving it to the other side, opposite of plus 3y is minus 3y. I'm going to pull out x from here. So pulling out x, what multiplies by x to give me 5xy? That would be 5y. And to get this negative 8x, I've got negative 8 is equal to negative 28 minus 3y. X is being multiplied by all of this, so I need to divide by all of this. So x is equal to negative 28 minus 3y over 5y minus 8. Question 17. 7 kilos of carrots and 5 kilos of tomatoes cost a total of 480p. Let's just translate this into an equation. I've got 7 lots of the carrots plus 5 lots of the tomatoes is equal to 480p. The cost of 1 kilo of carrots to 1 kilo of tomatoes, so I've got carrots to tomatoes is in the ratio 5 to 9. Could we translate this into an equation? So I can cross multiply. So I've got 9c is equal to 5t. You might spot something here. You've got this 5t here and you've got this 5t here, so it might be helpful for later on. Work out the cost of 1 kilo of carrots and the cost of 1 kilo of tomatoes. First thing that I want to do is have the same variable in here. I don't want a c and a t. I want them all to be the same thing. Right now I can't solve it because there's two different letters. So I'm going to swap this 5t with 9c. So 7c, that 5t is equal to 9c plus 9c is equal to 480. Because I've got the same letter, I can solve it. 7 lots of c plus 9 lots of c is 16c is equal to 480. If you do, you're being multiplied by 16, so I need to divide by 16 on both sides. So c is equal to, if you do your 16 times table, it's 16, 32, 48, so it's going to be 3 with 1 0. So I've now found the cost of my carrots, 30p. I'm going to substitute that back into my equation. I'll substitute it into here. So I've got 7 lots of c, which is 30, I've just found that out, plus 5 lots of the tomatoes, which is equal to 480. 7 times 3 is 21, so 210 plus 5t is equal to 480. T is being multiplied by 5, then we're adding 210, so take away 210 from both sides. So 5t is equal to, that'd be 270. Divide multiplied by 5, so divide by 5. Going to t is equal to, instead of dividing by 5, divide by 10, which is 27, and then double it, which would be 54. So t is equal to 54 and c is equal to 30. T was 54p and c is 30p. And if you substitute both of these back into here, you would get a solution of 480. Question 19. The menu in a restaurant has starters, main courses, and desserts. There's 5 starters, 12 main courses, and X amount of desserts. There's 420 different ways to choose 1 starter, 1 main course, and 1 dessert. Work out the value of X. So all we need to remember here is if we have combinations, we just multiply them by each other and it will tell us how many possible combinations that there are. So we have 5 multiplied by 12 multiplied by x is equal to 420. We just need to solve this. 5 times 12 is 60, so 60 times x is 60x, times by 420. Cancel out the zeros, divide both sides by 6. 42 divided by 6 would be 7, so that means there are 7 desserts. Question 20. For x is greater than or equal to 0, the functions f and g are such that f of x is this and g of x is this. Find the inverse of g of x. So if I'm finding the inverse, I first set it equal to y is equal to root x plus 2 over 5. I now want to get this x on its own. I'm trying to rearrange it to make x a subject. So what's happening to this x? It's being square rooted, and then we're adding 2, and then we're dividing by 5. So we need to do the opposites of that in the other direction. We're going to multiply by 5 on both sides. So we have 5y is equal to root x plus 2. We need to get rid of this plus 2, so we're taking away 2 from both sides. 5y minus 2 is equal to root x. We need to get rid of this square root now, so we're going to square everything on both sides. So the square of 5y minus 2 would be 5y minus 2 in brackets squared is equal to x. The last thing that I do, because I've got x the subject, I'm going to swap these letters around. So instead of writing y, I'm going to write x, and I'll just write it as my final answer. So it's bracket 5x minus 2, close bracket, squared. That's that done. Part B, solve g of f of x is equal to 3. Whenever you read functions, you read from right to left. When you read English, you read left to right, but functions, it's the opposite way around. So I need to substitute f of x. I'm going to put this equation, this function, into here. So I'm going to swap this x with 3x plus 4. So g of f of x is equal to root, I'm going to swap in this x with 3x plus 4, plus 2 over 5. And it tells us it's equal to 3. So I'll make that equal to 3. How would we solve this equation now? I need to get rid of this divide by 5, so I'm going to multiply by 5 on both sides. So it's root 3x plus 4 plus 2 multiplying by 5 on both sides, so it's equal to 15. Get rid of this plus 2, so it's root 3x plus 4, taking away 2 from both sides, is equal to 13. I need to get rid of the square root now, so I need to square both sides. So I've got 3x plus 4. The square of 13 squared is 169. X is being multiplied by 3, then we're adding 4, so take away 4. So 3x is equal to 165. And we just need to divide this by 3. So 165 divided by 3. 3's don't go into 1, they go into 16 5 times with a remainder of 1. 3 is going to 15 5 times. So the answer is 55. Question 21. A, B, and D are points on a circle with center O. CDE is a tangent to the circle at D. Told me it's a tangent. I'm going to draw a rule on first. I know when I've got a tangent to the circle, the angle created here will be a right angle, and that angle will also be a right angle. Work out the size of angle ADC. So we're trying to find A to D to C, which is this small angle over here. So it's going to be part of that 90 degrees. Write down any circle theorems that you use. So the first circle theorem that we've used is the radius and a tangent meet at 90 degrees. So I can write C, D, O, C to D to O equals 90 degrees as radius and tangent meet at 90 degrees. That's that first one done. How can you see I've got an angle at the center and I've got an angle at the circumference. So the angle at the center is twice the angle at the circumference. So 64 divided by 2, we're trying to work out BAD, which is equal to the 64 divided by 2, which is 32. And the reason for that is the angle at the center is twice the angle at the circumference. So angle at the center is twice angle at the circumference. And an easy way to remember it is if you think about the population of the city, a population will be more in the center of the city than at the edge. So let's label that one on as 32. Now I can see I've got a triangle going on over here, so I can find out this missing angle. Angles in a triangle add up to 180. I don't need to write that rule because it only tells me I need circle theorems. So let's do 180 minus 32 minus 51. 52 and 51, so that would be 83. I'm doing 180 minus 83, which is 97. So this missing angle here in the triangle is 97. And I've got two lines that cross each other. So that tells me that vertically opposite angles will be equal. This angle will also be 97. And then this angle that we want, the blue angle, we want to take away the missing angle from the triangle from 90 degrees. So let's find out that missing angle. That'd be 180 minus 97 minus 64. So 64 and 97, you could do 100 plus 61. So 180 minus 161 is equal to 19. This small angle in that triangle is 19 degrees. And that other angle, the blue angle, will add up to make 90. So I need to do 90 minus 19, which would be 71. So that final angle, the one we're looking for, is 71 degrees. Question 22. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H is a cuboid. So we've got a cuboid here and it says F is 6.8 centimeters. So A to F, this height is 6.8 centimeters. F to C is 13.6 centimeters. So F is going through the middle of that cuboid over to the other corner, and that length is 13.6. Work out the size of the angle between FC. So we're looking for FC and the plane ABCD. So we're trying to find this angle over here. That's the one that we're looking for. How could I draw this in 2D so we can understand it a little bit better? So I'll just draw a right angle triangle. Height is 6.8, that's AF. And to C, that's the angle that we want, is 13.6. So F to C is 13.6. So we have two of our sides in a right angle triangle, and we're trying to find one of the angles. So that means we're going to be using some trig. Let's first label our sides. The side opposite the right angle is going to be my hypotenuse, and the side opposite my angle is my opposite. I don't need to label this other side because it's not important for this one. So I'm looking for O and for H. So which of these from SOHCAHTOA have O and H in? So has O and H, so that means we're going to be using the inverse sign, because we're finding an angle this time, of the opposite, which is 6.8, divided by the hypotenuse, which is 13.6. You might be able to spot if I double 6.8, I would get 13.6. So if I simplify this, I would get 1/2. So that would simplify to the inverse sine of 1 over 2. So now we just need to think about our exact trig values. What is sine of 1/2? That would be 30 degrees. So you need to know your exact trig values. Question 23, write 3 root 3 over 4 minus root 3 minus 2 over root 3 in the form a root 3 plus b over c, where a, b, and c are integers. Because it said it's integers and it looks something like this, where there's no surd on the bottom, that means we're going to have to rationalize the denominator. How do we rationalize the denominator? So we're going to first rewrite this fraction, 3 root 3 over 4 minus root 3. And because it's 4 minus root 3 on the bottom, to rationalize it, I need to multiply by the opposite of that, so 4 plus root 3. And I'm multiplying by 4 plus root 3 on the top and 4 plus root 3 on the bottom. So first, let's multiply out our numerators. 3 times by 4 is 12, so I've got 12 lots of this root 3. 3 root 3 times by root 3, so root 3 times by root 3 would be 3, and 3 times 3 would be 9. Let's do the denominator now. So I've got 4 times by 4, which is 16, 4 times by root 3, which is 4 root 3, negative root 3 times by 4, which is minus 4 root 3, and negative root 3 times plus root 3, which would be negative 3. I can see I can simplify that bit. That would cancel each other out, which is what we're aiming for. So now we're left with 12 root 3 plus 9 over 16 take away 3, which is just 13. So I've rationalized the denominator for the first fraction. I need to do the same thing with this other fraction. So I've got 2 over root 3. With this one, I need to multiply by root 3 on the bottom and root 3 on the top. So 2 times by root 3 is 2 root 3, and root 3 times root 3 is just 3. Now we can take them away. So let's just copy this fraction and this fraction. So 12 root 3 plus 9 over 13 minus 2 root 3 over 3. We don't have common denominators here, so we're going to have to find the lowest common multiple. So 13, 26, 39. So I'm timesing this one all by 3, and then timesing this one by 13. Let's do this one. Multiplying everything by 3. So 12 times by 3 would be 36 root 3. 9 times 3 is 27 over 39. This one, we're multiplying everything by 13. So minus 13 times by 2 is 26. So 26 root 3 over 39. Now, the only things that we have to collect is this 36 root 3 and this minus 26 root 3. So 36 take away 26 is 10. So I've got 10 root 3 plus 27 over 39. Question 24. Find the set of possible values of x for which 4x squared minus 25 is less than 0. So the first thing that I can see here is both of these are square numbers. So that means I'm going to be using difference of two squares to factorize that one. And 12 minus 5x minus 3x squared. I can see here I've got a negative x squared. So I'd prefer if I didn't have that, it'd make it easier if I move everything to the other side. Let's do this one first. We've got 4x squared minus 25. So if I'm factorizing this quadratic and I know it's difference of two squares, I square root 4x squared. So the square root of 4 is 2 and the square root of x squared is x. And the square root of 25 is 5. So in one of the brackets will be 2x plus 5 and in the other bracket will be 2x minus 5. And that's less than 0. Let's solve these to find the roots or where it's crossing the x-axis. So we have two things that multiply together to give 0. So that means one of these things will be equal to 0. So I'm going to do 2x plus 5 is equal to 0. I've set that equal to 0 and I'm going to set this one equal to 0. 2x minus 5 is equal to 0. Just taking away 5 and dividing by 2. So x would be equal to negative 5 over 2. And here x would be equal to 5 over 2. I'm going to write these as decimals because it'll just be easier to plot them. So 5 over 2 is 2.5, so I have plus and minus 2.5 that I'm going to plot. So if I plot these on a xy graph, these are my xy axes, and it's crossing at 2.5 and minus 2.5. So I'll put 2.5 here, minus 2.5 here, and because it's x squared, it's a quadratic graph, that means it's going to have a U shape. It's going to look something like this. For this graph, we're looking for when this line is below the x-axis because it's when it's below 0, when it's less than 0. So I'm looking for all of these values when it's below the x-axis. It's between negative 2.5 and less than 2.5. We're going to draw this other one on, but first we're going to have to simplify it a little bit. So first I'm going to move everything to the other side by multiplying by -1. And if I multiply everything by -1, it's going to flip this inequality sign to the other side. So right now it's greater than, it's going to be a less than symbol. So multiplying all of this by -1, I've got -3x squared times by -1. The signs are just going to be flipped basically. So it's 3x squared. This one will be flipped to plus 5x. And then we have -12. This has also flipped. So it's less than 0. So it's when it's below the x-axis. And it will also help when we're plotting on our graphs. We need to factorize this now. So I'm going to multiply 3 by -12, which is -36. So I'm looking for two numbers that multiply to make -36 and they add to make this 5. Let's try out the factors of 36. So that'd be 1 and 36, 2 and 18, 3 and 12, and 4 and 9. I'm going to stop here. I think 4 and 9 would work to make this 5. But two numbers that are multiplying to make a negative and they're adding to make a positive. So one of them will be negative, one of them will be positive. So I think it would be -4 and plus 9. So let's write those two down. -4 and +9. For my two brackets, I'm going to put 3x in both of the brackets to start off with. And then I have -4 and plus 9 is less than 0. And you might be thinking, if I do 3x times by 3x, that gives me 9x squared. But I don't want 9x squared, so I need to simplify this one. Can I divide anything in this bracket by something? Do they have a common factor? No. So I'm going to keep this one exactly the same as it is. This one, I can see both of these numbers, the 3 and the 9, divide by 3. So let's simplify this one. 3x divided by 3 gives me x, and 9 divided by 3 gives me 3. Now you can see 3x times by x gives me 3x squared, and -4 times by 3 gives me the -12. So that would be less than 0. Let's solve these just the same way as we did the previous one. So we got 3x minus 4 is equal to 0, and x plus 3 is equal to 0. So here x would be equal to 4 over 3, which is the same as 1.3 recurring. And this one, x equals -3. So these are the 2 points where it's crossing the x-axis. So we'll on 1.3 recurring is over here, and -3 is before -2.5, so it's over here. We'll draw that line. And same again, we're looking for where it's below the x-axis. So let's just highlight that bit. It's below the x-axis between -3 and less than 1.3 recurring. But the places that they're both under the x-axis is this area here, between -2.5 and less than 1.3. So that'd be our final answer. So you can see that both inequalities are true when x is greater than -2.5, and that's the same as 5 over 2. And when it's less than 1.3 recurring, and that's the same as 4/3. That's the end of the questions for today. I'd recommend you go through all of the questions, write down the topics that you struggle with before you attempt another past paper. Feel free to contact me or reach out if you need any help with anything. Otherwise, you can check out my channel for more walkthroughs and work solutions, including the ones from this year's set. I'll see you soon.